For the love of God, will you all at least wait until there's actual episodes released? Yes, the trailers and sneak peeks don't look good at all, the animation is cartoony as hell, and the realism is clearly flushed down the sewers, but it's still too early to conclude that it's terrible. So I'm not going to rant about Big World Big Adventures or Season 22 until after the whole movie is released and when every episode of Season 22 has aired. Not before. You're all going to have to just sit down and be patient. But what can I talk about in the meantime? Alright, I'll give it a go.
Some people make you feel so bad. Some people make you feel so sad. But don't let it get you down. Some people seem to be so cruel. Some people make you feel just like a fool. But don't let it get you down. There's always someone to lend a hand. You'll never be alone. There's always someone who'll understand. So don't worry, you're not on your own.
How right you are, Rod, Jane, and Freddy. So, let me start off by saying this. A couple of things that I have said in the Postman Pat video regarding the negative feedback was wrong. I definitely should have worded my opinions better, or had more time explaining my side of the story, which strangely enough was the one thing you people kept complaining about. Now I'm going to spend a few minutes saying what I should have said. Number one, I never plan to make any of these videos 30 minutes long. I just have a lot to talk about and wanted to address as much as I can, that's all. I try to keep them as short as possible, but these series feature so much for me to talk about, and I want everyone to understand the problems I'm addressing by mentioning everything that I can. Most of my viewers and subscribers are not from the UK, so they don't know what Postman Pat or Classic Fireman Sam is, so I'm explaining as much as I can for my viewers from America, or Canada or wherever. Number two. People are saying that I shouldn't be ranting about reboots like Bob the Builder because either they're not connected to the original series or that I should judge the reboot on its own. Well, I'm sorry, but if there's a reboot or a remake or a continuation of anything, whether it be for kids shows, movies, games, or whatever, everyone is going to compare them to the original, no matter what. Everyone is going to compare the characters from DuckTales to the versions from the original, or the comic books. Everyone is going to compare the humor and action, or lack thereof, from the Ben 10 reboot to the original. Everyone is going to compare the gameplay from the Insane trilogy to the original Crash Bandicoot. And the same goes to Spyro later this year. What I'm saying is that it's really hard to judge the reboot or remake by its own merit if it's based on something that already exists. Most people are going to look at or remember the originals and realize how better, questionable, or worse the reboot looks when compared to them. And number three, I shouldn't be ranting or talking about shows that are aimed towards toddlers or young children in general because I am not the audience these shows are intended for. Where have you all been in the past decade? Lots of people near the age of 20 have been talking about shows like this just as much as other people talk about shows like MLP, Steven Universe, or Gravity Falls. Have you ever seen all those review videos from then named Miss Oliver and Blossom and The Unlucky Tug? Well, people like those videos. What about those occasional videos where Cad Icarus, a 24-year-old gamer who reviews games like Kingdom Hearts, Shadow of the Colossus, Resident Evil, and a few others, reviewed a PS1 game of the Tweenies and a couple of episodes of Peppa Pig? Yeah, Peppa Pig, the very definition of toddler show. And yet, a lot of people still like those videos. Not just because of the comedy, but he and the others I've mentioned bring up a lot of good points in their arguments about these shows. And why are we reviewing these kinds of shows in the first place? Well, if you wouldn't mind, I'm gonna play a few clips here.
And yes, like I had to say in every video where I'm talking about something that's made for kids or suitable for kids, please do not tell me I can't complain because I'm not the target audience, because this shit is made by adults, and I just don't think it's very well made at all.
Older fans have a better appreciation of what the show was than we did when we were children. A 4-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 24-year-old could each watch the same episode and take away a different appreciation from it. Shows like Barney and Teletubbies are only enjoyable to small children. When we get older, we don't appreciate them because there is no substance to them. Thomas is not like this.
What I hate about the CGI series, it's not the animation. That I can deal with. What I hate about the CGI series is the writing. Now, let me say this. I do agree that the show might be enjoyable to a younger demographic. I get that. But you know what? That doesn't excuse the show for having such bland plots and badly executed morals that are constantly shoved down the kid's throat. And the characters nowadays, they have completely different personalities. Whether they're either made more stupid, more wimpy, or they're made complete assholes. Now, I do get it. It is a kid's show. I understand. But they completely abandon realism and common logic, and the lessons are just tagged on.
And yes, okay, I can envision all of you at home right now thinking about typing, "Oh yes, but Caddy, you deliberately picked out a game that's clearly designed for children, so why are you even complaining?" Yes, well, do you know what? That's no excuse at all. There still needs to be some sort of quality control with these things. I mean, yes, kids may be very easy to entertain, but they are not stupid.
Okay, let me sort of make this clear. I understand some people might be under the impression of like, why are you getting so worked up over just a simple fucking children's show? Maybe because, I don't know, if I decide to have children of my own, I want them to, you know, sort of be raised on what I was raised, which is mostly the classics, because unlike this piece of shit, the other classic seasons, they weren't just fun, their lessons were actually subtle! Subtle! And the newer seasons, either the morals are either non-existent or constantly shoved down your fucking ear! And is that what we want our kids to be raised on? I didn't think so!
Yes, there are shows like Barney the Dinosaur or Teletubbies that don't seem to have that much effort put into them and don't seem to hold up years later. Trust me, I've rewatched both of the 2 Teletubbies videotapes I owned as a kid, and let's just say, I didn't like them as much as I thought. But then there are shows like Fireman Sam, Pingu, Postman Pat, Bob the Builder, Wombles, Sooty, and most especially, Thomas the Tank Engine. Those shows are what I like to call family shows. Yes, these shows are aimed towards younger children than children who watch, say, Ninja Turtles, He-Man, or Danny Phantom, but at least the people who work on these shows actually put effort into making them. Whether it be from making enjoyable, unique, fluid animation, like in Pingu or Bob the Builder, creating catchy music we can remember forever, like in Postman Pat, Thomas, or Fireman Sam, having only 1 or 2 actors with amazing vocal range doing every voice in the show, like, say, John Alderton in Fireman Sam, Kent Barry in Postman Pat, Bernard Cribbins in The Wombles, or Carlo Bonamy in Pingu. But most especially when they write an enjoyable, logical, humorous, charming story, like in, well, all the shows I've mentioned. The story ideas seem really simple on paper, but then in script form, they add references that the parents watching the shows can understand, like mentioning the WI. Or they will have the characters do lots of jobs that they know the children can't do, like an engine driver trying to keep the train moving, or using special equipment for a building project, or using oxygen equipment to save someone someone in a toxic coal mine. These adult characters were written and were doing jobs as adults in mind, not as kids. And these adult characters can be people the children audience can look up to and say, I want to be like Fireman Sam when I grow up because he knows how to rescue people. And that kind of writing, for the most part, is non-existent in those kinds of shows today. The writing has been downgraded significantly, and less things for the parents to relate to as well as to the kids. It's for that reason that I don't consider later seasons or reboots of these shows to be family shows anymore, but just toddler shows. There's a reason these shows have gotten the current reputation they have now. The only exceptions that I can see are Thomas, Pingu, and Sooty. Those shows still at least have some kind of charm in them left. The point is that people like me, Miss Oliver and Blossom, the Unlucky Tug, Cat Icarus, or whoever would normally say that the writing, along with even the animation sometimes, have gone downhill in modern times, and people should really give these shows much better material. And you know what? They did! Well, only in the case of Thomas the Tank Engine. By that point, we have gotten 10 whole years of the same boring, repetitive, stupid, nonsensical writing, animation, and narration, and a lot of Thomas fans were hating the hell out of it, and they just couldn't take it anymore. Oh, but it gets better.
One of my next door neighbors has an 8-year-old nephew. He loves Thomas, loves it to death. But even to him, the CGI series makes no goddamn sense.
Oh,
So
really? Did he say anything?
Like he watched a recent episode, in season 13. He said, "This makes no sense. I hate it."
Well, this just shows that little kids, your main demographic, don't care.
So, what did they do? They got a new writing team, they put effort, logic, and realism into these stories again, so that means they got rid of characters like the logging locos. No more rhyming, no more alliteration, all the characters were back to their normal personalities again, and everything got better and better. And not only did us Thomas fans love watching the show once again, but the kids loved watching the new series too. My final conclusion? The writing should have effort, charm, and logic put into it, and should be written by people who actually understand the source material and love it, instead of just making these things. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's just talk about the thing you've curiously clicked on the video for. So, Noddy. Where should I start? The black and white series? The 70s series? That rather strange Vimeo advert?
Oh, the colour doesn't quite match the wallpaper, said Noddy. Yes, it does, barked Big Ears. Take that, said Noddy. Ouch, said Big Ears.
Well, why don't we start with the series which I know everyone had watched, Noddy's Toyland Adventures. For all of those American viewers out there, more specifically those who had never watched The Noddy Shop, the basic premise of the series is about a little wooden doll called, Noddy. He usually drives his little colourful taxi car, taking all sorts of toys all over Toyland to earn a few sixpences. Sixpences are just little English coins that they used since the mid-1500s, but yet they were no longer relevant by the time this series was in production. Weird. All of the aspects that made shows like Pingu and Fireman Sam great are represented in this series also. The music? Quite good. Not as memorable as the music in other shows, but hey, at least you can still remember the theme song. The writing? Really interesting.
You've had a shock. You must sit under that blanket till you feel better.
Thank you.
Those goblins. I am shocked, Noddy. Shocked.
Then you must sit under a blanket till you feel better.
No, I'm too angry.
The animation? Really impressive. Since the series is about walking, talking toys, it looks as though the team tried their very best to make the characters look like the actual toys they were based on. And it's definitely paid off. Though I'm rather 70-30 on the animation in Season 4. It's more brighter, faster paced, and expandable, kinda showing off the kind of animation Cosgrove Hall will use in the hundreds of shows to follow.
All we need is a car to collect them in, and someone to drive it. Brilliant!
The voices? Magnificent. There are only 2 actors in this series. Jimmy Hibbert's voicing most of the male characters, and has a very phenomenal vocal range for someone who is usually known for writing.
I shall run away! I shall! You're all horrid!
Do not speak to your father like... Oh, I do apologise, Mr. Plod. I'm trying to dry you.
Hoopla! Hoopla! Hop! Oh, thank you, Noddy. Here's my sixpence.
The mighty waves tossing my wee vessel high and low with a salt spray lashing my face.
How interesting, Sammy Sailor, but why are you telling me all this?
And there's Susan Sheridan, who did all of the other voices, from woman voices to more boyish voices.
Quick, quick! You'll miss your train. Can I have my fare, please?
Your fare? Your fare? I'm not paying you money. You owe me money. Sixpence for a new tail.
Noddy taught me. He wants to buy an apple tree from Mr. Straws's farm, so he's giving driving lessons to earn lots of sixpences.
Oh, I've sent him to bed. He's been very rude to me. He wouldn't even help me peg out the washing.
Where's Noddy's money? We don't want to steal stones. We want Noddy's money.
What a shame, Tessie. Fancy Bumpy Dog breaking your beautiful blue teapot.
No one can mend it, you see. I'm so cross with Bumpy Dog, he's very careless.
Now, some of you might think that her performance as Noddy sounds a bit too female for the character, but she did find a way to find a voice that's suitable and lovable enough. I'll let her explain.
I think I would find the voice by imagining how that little doll, which he is, would actually sound. And so you work out, no, it's a bit deep that way, that's a bit Jimbo-ish, or Clockwork Mouse, or did Clockwork Mouse like that? Or like that's just a bit too feminine. So somewhere in the middle, I found the voice of Noddy that was really, really like that. And always, in the drawings, he's got eyebrows that look surprised or cross. So you make that sound of that puppet, and that's how I found the voice. And so he talks like that most of the time, up and down like that.
And it seems as though some actresses like her can find that balance, and some others can't. I mean, just listen to the voice for Tayo the Little Bus. Both of them. After the series ended in 1999, a new Noddy series was made and broadcast on a different network just 4 years later. Make way for Noddy. Now, I've heard that quite a few Noddy fans actually like this series, and if you do, then that's absolutely fine, but holy hell, what a downgrade. Seriously, Make Way for Noddy feels and looks terrible when comparing it to the previous series, which, as I've previously mentioned, a lot of people are going to do anyway, myself included. There are 2 major problems with this series that always prevent me from ever rewatching it nowadays. The animation and the pacing. The pacing in Toyland Adventures wasn't too quick and it wasn't too slow. But now, look at this scene from Make Way. Can you see how slow this is? Painfully slow. I swear, I haven't edited out anything from this scene. Every single scene in the whole series moves this slowly. And this current joke isn't funny because it's too slow. Timing is everything when it comes to humor. Basically, the faster it is, the funnier it is. And you might have noticed what's wrong with the animation too. It's that really cheap late 90s CG animation that looks really jagged and really robotic. I mean, I honestly can't tell which looks worse, this or Rudolph and the Island of Misfit Toys. I seriously feel as if this was animated by the same people. And fuck me dead, this scene is still going! Why are you taking nearly 2 minutes to tell just one joke? Not even Dora the Explorer takes that long to get to the point. But are the voices in the show any better, at the very least?
That's right, a big monster. He stomped up and said, "Give me your Google berries."
Well, okay, over half of the voices in the show are passable, like Tessie Bear, Big Ears, Martha Monkey, Miss Pink Cat, and Mr. Plod. Oh no wait, I'm sorry, PC Plod. I'm guessing that stands for politically correct. Plod. Hell, this voice for Mr. Wobbly Man is spot on. I almost mistook it for Jimmy Hibbert at some point.
Noddy, you are so brave. Let's give him a cheer. Oh dear! I doubt if I'll stop wobbling before bedtime. Oh!
But then there are voices that are really questionable, like...
Thanks for the ride, Mr. Driver. You drive a very smooth train.
These people did tell Ben Small that he's playing an elephant, right?
Driving a train is a big job. I don't think they let just anyone do it.
I shall have to sit here until the wind dies down. All afternoon.
You know, I wouldn't actually be comparing everything to Toyland Adventures if the character designs weren't so heavily inspired by Toyland Adventures. It's the exact same designs. Oh, and speaking of Toyland Adventures, apparently there was a US dub of both that series and Make Way for Noddy, where they...
Only you could be this mean! I'll never forgive you, Noddy! Never, ever, never!
Wait, why does that voice sound kind of familiar? Kathleen Barr? The things these actors and actresses do just to get a check these days. And there are also some stories or moments in this series that I feel I need to question.
This is a reward from all of us for being so good.
Wow, this is the engine to my favourite train set. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And you can come in and buy the other parts one at a time until you have the whole set. That is if you want the whole set.
Of course, I want them all.
Okay, I get that Noddy is quite young, but he's also old and responsible enough to run a taxi business and to take care of himself at the same time. Not young enough to the point where he decides to stay up late at night without thinking about his taxi job, or like staring at a train set that he wants to buy from Diner Doll. Wait, what?
Chugga 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 woo woo! Here comes train driver Noddy!
So, you've got a toy living in Toyland playing with toys. Yeah, that concept alone is just as confusing as that firebox incident in Fiery Flynn.
I am sad, very sad, call me Mr. Woe. Sad to be where all the simply awful people go.
There is a door right there. Okay, how is this train able to turn through all of these bends if there's nothing to actually steer the engine? By that logic, it should only be running in a straight line until it hits a tree or something. Did I mention yet that I hate this animation? I did? Oh, okay.
I don't want to be a train driver anymore. I want to be a policeman. Halt in the name of Tubby Bear!
You know, why would these people decide to kick Mr. and Mrs. Tubby Bear out of the show? Well, I mean, I can understand them getting rid of Mr. Milko because, you know, milkmen are not a thing anymore. But why would they also get rid of the parents for Master Tubby Bear, a troublemaking teddy bear who normally likes playing tricks and causing mischief? Okay, I think I've had enough. Can you please tell me that the next Noddy series is a little bit better?
Hey, 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 Noddy! Noddy! Noddy's on his way. Hey, 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 Noddy! Noddy! Come on and shout hooray!
Well, at least Noddy in Toyland has way better pacing and animation, but I don't know what to make of the mouth movements. It seems a tad out of place to me. As for the story and characters, well, the stories are just about on par with the stories from Make Way for Noddy. Make of that what you will. Only a third of the characters from Make Way are in the series. They've also brought in Wiz, the toy robot from that Learn Different Languages segment that nobody remembers. Instead of being strict with the law, Mr. Plot is way too jolly and laughs every 10 seconds. It doesn't look as though Noddy has a taxi business anymore. He just drives around Toyland for no reason. And, those are not goblins. Not even close. No. These are goblins. Big pointy ears, strange long noses, huge triangular chins, having gained green skin in the 4th season. That's what Sly and Gobbo should look like. Actual goblins. But Sly and Gobbo in this series don't look like goblins at all. They just look like normal humans that just so happen to have long ears. They seriously look just the same as all the other toys. Oh, and for some reason they got their names switched around.
Hello, Noddy. It's me, Sly the Goblin.
Hello, Noddy. Yours the party.
Gobbo!
Oh, Sly, it doesn't look much like the picture in the Goblin Gizmo catalogue. They never do, Gobbo. They never do.
Oh, no, wait. None of these 3 series is the Noddy series you've all been constantly asking me to talk about. No. You all want me to talk about that recent Noddy reboot series from DreamWorks, don't you? Noddy Toyland Detective. Everyone and their grandmothers and their goldfish and the pebbles in their fishbowl have said that they don't like this series because it's supposed to be a Noddy series, but yet it has nothing to do with anything Eden Blyton gave us. Well, in my opinion, I actually kinda like this series. Actually, let me rephrase that. I kind of like this series in terms of what it's trying to do, trying to make Noddy appealing to not just a modern day child demographic, but also to a more international demographic. Not too British, not too American. I had made a written review displaying my thoughts on the reboot series at the time over on my DeviantArt page. My thoughts on the show since then haven't really changed. I honestly don't mind most of the changes they've made in this reboot series. But wait, I was angry over all the changes in all of these shows, but I am not angry over all the changes in this show? Why? Well, shows like Fireman Sam, Bob the Builder, Powerpuff Girls, and Wacky Races are different beasts entirely when it comes to reboots. As I've said in a previous video, a reboot is basically taking an old show that they haven't aired in years and bringing them back for modern audiences to enjoy. But when you modernize these certain shows too much, it loses the show's charm and uniqueness, and it feels like most other kids shows nowadays. I mean, you'd be better off just getting rid of cable TV and the internet and let your kids watch those old videotapes of yours, or recordings of old kids channels. And if they're not trying to modernize these shows, they're changing things that didn't really need to be changed. Take Wacky Races for example. They got rid of half the cast of interesting characters for honestly no reason. And despite being called Wacky Races, the races are not usually the focus of each episode, but rather a different story entirely. But modernizing Noddy is perfectly understandable. I mean, think about it. Do you ever see any kids or toddlers from the 2010s playing with Victorian teddy bears or round wobbly dolls or clockwork mice? No. No, you don't. Those kinds of toys are usually found in antique shops in this day and age. Modern kids nowadays want to play with toys that are more exciting, have more functions and things to do. So it makes sense for a show in 2016 all about a land of toys to feature the kind of toys you can buy right now in a shop in 2016. Like, say, Playmobil, or My Little Pony dolls, or even Power Rangers action figures. Although it is rather disappointing that the only returning characters in this reboot are Noddy, Big Ears, Bumpy Dog, and Noddy's car. Oh no, wait, I'm sorry. Revs. Speaking of, why did they give Revs a mouth? I mean, I can understand giving him eyes because that's where his headlights are, but what's the point on giving him a mouth? This design change made me worried that Revs was going to speak English in this series, dragging this reboot even further away from the original source material. But if he still just communicates through beeping noises, then what's really the point? And the fact that Noddy is now a detective instead of a taxi driver? Well, it has been established in this reboot that most of the toys have vehicles of their own, like Noddy, or have wheels on their feet, so they don't really need a vehicle. But it does make me wonder what Noddy does exactly when he's not solving a case. Get it? This isn't anything crucial that I need to know or anything. It's just making me wonder a bit, that's all. So overall, Noddy Toyland Detective is really not that bad in my eyes. The animation is colourful, detailed, and very well done. The voice acting is pretty good. The mysteries they solve really makes the kids think, which I like, and I'm just perfectly fine with all of the changes they've made. Although, if I had to recommend just one Noddy series for everyone to watch for generations on end, it would clearly be Noddy's Toyland Adventures. That series had the best voice acting, the best writing, the best timeless feel, the best charm. Not exactly the best animation, but great enough to enjoy because, you know, Cosgrove Hall. Now, if you all don't mind, I am not going to talk about another reboot series for a very, 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 very long time, because I honestly don't have that much left to say about reboots anymore. I am still going to rant about Big World Big Adventures when everything about it is released, but for now, no more reboot suggestions, please. I'd like to be able to talk about other things, like the videotapes I had. Someday.
Noddy, the little man with the red and yellow car. Noddy, his tinkling bell means he's the happiest little fellow in all Toyland. There's Biggies and Tubby and Mr. Plot and all his special friends. It's sixpence an adventure, then he'll take you home again. Noddy, 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 Noddy.